I went on a little bit of a data deep dive, and I wanted to share some of the things that I saw and found with you guys that were interesting to me. Now, I'm a weird numbers person. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I'm a big stats and numbers guy. And so I'll spend a lot of time going down a rabbit hole, and sometimes it leads somewhere interesting. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it ends up just being a functional dead end, but you don't know until you start to dive in. And since the focus of today's call is customer acquisition, I really wanted to start looking at what are trends that we see from people who are writing up a good number of orders, and all the talks today are going to be in support of that. Well, first off, just to start with our baseline, guys, last year across our fairs, we wrote up, let's see, 4,315 orders, okay? And that was across 506 shifts at our fairs, plus the sales and service events, okay? So 4,300 orders was what we wrote up across the 3 state fairs and our service events, 4,315. And that's what equaled up to that $2.6 million in sales. And our goal here today with the speakers that we're going to have and what we're going to cover is, could we increase that number? Okay, there's a finite amount of shifts that we're ever going to be able to pull out. There's only so many people you can put in a booth. There's only so many booths you can put in a fair. And so getting a chance to work on improving our technique, our skill to capture more of the people in front of us through attracting more people to the booth, through knowing how to stay in the deal a little bit longer or better, through helping, prevent walkaways and beatbacks, or through positioning in such a way that if they are going to walk away and nothing was ever going to change that, you do it in a way where they actually feel good and you increase the likelihood of them coming back and you closing that sale. Could we increase that by 1 extra order a day? Okay. If we could do that, by the way, this year, that would add an extra 536 orders across the shifts at the State Fair project. 536 orders at a $600 average order. That would be $321,000 in extra CPO. Okay. For all the shifts we're already working, we're already paying for. 1 order a day. We're not trying to say, hey, can we double nothing like that. But 1 order a day, could we capture that 1 extra order a day? And guys, you understand how you do that. The way you do that is some days Dante will have no additional orders. Some days he'll have 3 additional orders. And can we average it out to 1? That's really what we're shooting for. By the way, if we could also capture an extra 130 orders at service events, I kind of went back to our service events and tried to go based off the show number, not just saying, hey, how do we just add more? Because you have to actually book more appointments. But by being more efficient, about 130 was a number I felt was realistic, possible, and doable. Okay, that would be an extra $75,000, $80,000 in sales. Guys, we could sell an extra $400,000 throughout the fair project this year if we just had a focus on increasing 1 extra order per shift. Just one. Okay, guys, that's the 5th fair, for God's sake. All right, an extra 400 grand, but that's what's possible. But here's the thing: I don't share this with y'all to challenge you. All right. Like, I'm not your dad. Okay. Like I want to be really clear. I share this with y'all to hopefully just sort of inspire us a little bit for possibility. That's it. This isn't really a challenge, guys, but it is an opportunity. And we know it's possible because we look at the top end of the team and how much they're producing as far as orders per day. And it's happening consistently. It's not just because of the booth they're in or things like that. You can drop certain people into any booth and they're always writing up more orders per day. Curtis can be any booth in any day. He writes up more orders per day. Carlton can be in any booth any day. He writes up more orders per day. Okay. It's a consistent trackable thing across all different levels of annual sales performance. There's just some people that are closing more sales. Now, obviously, again, this is an excuse to close like smaller sales. It's going to happen sometimes, but at the same time, what's possible? Now, that's exciting on its own, but really where I got super nerdy, if y'all will let me get super nerdy here for just 5 more minutes, I got really in the weeds. And I started seeing this trend with some of our local team. And the trend I was seeing was this: over an extended period of time, what are some of the impacts that are happening from people who are writing up more orders per day on average, specifically at the fair project? Okay. This is not a question of like some reps being like better performers or just better at the job than other people. A lot of y'all are better than me. There's nothing threatening, by the way. Everyone is better than you at something. So like don't be threatened by that. But it's not as simple as that. Okay. And so what I started doing was diving into the numbers to see if it would actually show anything. That's what I was curious to see. So here's what I did. I went through and I decided to really dig and look at the numbers. And of course, guys, correlation, causation, the numbers don't tell the whole story, but they do point us in a direction. And here's what I did. I took 5 of our local team members, okay? 5 local team members. I'm not going to tell you who they are because it doesn't matter, all right? But I took 5 local team members, and these are great sales representatives. great sales representatives. Okay. These are top tier people. They are all extremely successful people. All 5 of them were top 40 in traditional event sales in the entire nation last year. Most were in the top 30. Okay. So like these are high flying, extremely well performing reps. All of them have worked the fair for at least 8 years. I feel like there need to be enough of a sample size to sort of even things out a little bit. So we kept it to people that have been working the fair project for at least 8 years, and we put them into 2 groups. Okay. Now, group A were people that were having higher orders per day than the team average. Group B were people that were either slightly below, and again, I do mean slightly, or even at team average. Okay, but that was the difference. All right. Now there ended up being 2 reps in Group A, 3 in Group B. So let me share this with you. I want to share some of the numbers, and maybe you'll find this interesting, maybe you won't. That's okay either way. Okay. So I pulled a lot of numbers, and here's what we found. For Group A, going back to 2019. Now, why did I do 2019? Because from 2018 was the year where what I noticed was the past customer sales were actually higher from Group B. Okay, so Group B was like actually selling more, performing better than Group A on average. Okay, again, 2 versus 3, but on average. But 2019 was the first year there started to be a little bit of a switch. So that's why I started there. I went back 5 years. I went back more than that, but I want to show you the numbers for the last 5 years. Okay, here's what we had. We were looking at Group A was writing up 7.25 orders a day, Group B 6.3. Okay, facts versus feelings. A lot of times people think they know what the numbers are, but that was real numbers. Okay, and what I started finding was that past customer CPO. I wanted to see what is the cumulative effect of adding more customers. Okay, because at the end of the day, that's what customer acquisition is. It's adding more customers. Well, guys, eventually there's going to have to be dovetails on this. Eventually there's going to be byproducts that come from having a larger customer base that you're working with. So what I found was for that year, that was the first year where Group A actually outsold Group B in past customer sales, and they sold an extra $5,000 in past customer business. Now, maybe that had something to do with writing up more orders and accumulating more clients. Maybe it didn't. Cool, no worries. I'll concede that point. Maybe it had nothing to do with it. Okay, but let's go to the next year. Okay, the next year, 2021. Why is there no 2022? I don't know, because we had a global pandemic. All right, so just if you see the gap there. So 2021. Okay, you started to see that difference spread a little more. Group A, 9.8 orders a day. Group B, 7.2. Okay, what causes that? I don't know. Some days it rains. Some days things just happen. We're not going to worry about that. But here we are. So what happened though is across the fair project, that was a difference on average of 71 extra orders per fair. Now that's across all the different fairs. Okay, but they were adding an extra 71 customers, and I don't think we think about it that way. I think we just tend to go who sold more and who sold less. But no, guys, your customers are a resource. They added 71 more customers, and they sold about $5,000 more. Okay, no worries. But again, my hypothesis is eventually this has got to start snowballing. It starts to get, it's just the law of larger numbers. There's too many customers they're adding. It's going to start showing in the results. And I was curious how that was going to break down. Okay, 2022. All right, and again, I've got all the numbers on here. Again, they're keeping up where they're writing about 70 extra orders they're adding 70 extra customers, 70 extra orders per fair project. Guys, in 2022, the people in Group A had past customer sales that were $17,000 higher than the people in Group B. And that's each person. Okay. So like they actually sold 35,000 more, those 2 reps did. Okay. But again, it was an extra 17,000 per person. Okay, so we're starting to see that snowball effect because again, it's going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen. There's too many extra customers that you're adding. All right, 2023. Let's take a look. $33,000 more in past customer sales on average for those 2 reps than for the other 3. Okay. Guys, again, it's just the law of large numbers. I'm not going to tell you who's in the group, Chelsea. It's the law of large numbers. You can't add that many extra clients every single year and not have it show up. Guys, no one writes up more orders, like adds more new customers than Curtis every single year. And then people act surprised when Curtis's customers are coming out the woodworks, even though he's only here a couple times a year. Curtis is both selling high because you can do both. This is not either or. It's not average order or let's go sling a lot of blades. Okay. Now, by the way, last year, slightly down, but still 29,000 more. Okay. Than the people in Group B. And guys, here's the thing. There were people in Group B. I want to be clear. There are people in Group B who outsold people in Group A for the year. Okay. This is not just a matter of like, oh, just better salespeople. It's not what this is. It is in this specific area, in this fair project, the work we are doing, it's not just the long-term effect, which your customers are a resource, they are a long-term resource, but guys, those same customers have a higher likelihood to continue coming back to this event. And as you continue coming back to this event, you're improving your opportunity, you're increasing your odds for what's possible at this show. Now, again, did the numbers tell the whole story? No, they never do, but they do point us in a direction. Here's the direction I landed on. Okay, additional customers acquired over 5 years. Now, this is the average, okay? And this is per person. So keep in mind, there were 2 people in group A, okay? And I'm not one of them, just FYI. I did not put myself in any of these data sets, okay? But there's 2 people in there. They added, over the last 5 years, 443 more customers on average than the people in group B did, okay? So they added 400. They had 400 more orders. Let's be fair. Some of those were past customer, of course. But either way, they had 440 more orders. That's hundreds of additional customers. Okay. That equaled up to a $90,000 increase in past customer sales. So over the last 5 years, people in Group A have sold $90,000 more just at the state fairs to their past customers. Now, maybe you might say those 2 numbers aren't connected, and maybe you're right. Maybe you'll say that past customer success had literally nothing to do with the fact that they have hundreds more customers that they're adding than other team members, and not just adding collectively, but adding at this event. But I think there's something there. I think there's something there. And I'm thinking that something could be really, really significant. And so that is our goal here today. Our goal here today is to say, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Not because someone's going to go rock your game or tell you got to change the way you approach customers or your drop down or anything else, but could we be open-minded knowing what's possible? And I hope the answer is yes, but I know it is for me, okay? Because I know where I fell in those stats, and some of it was good, some of it wasn't good, okay? But I know where I fell in it, and I know I could be better. I could be a lot better. And so I'm excited to learn here today. So let's learn.